Hey, what's up, everybody? Sandy back here on the channel, the Sandy Golston BookTube TV channel, going live here tonight. It is New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year. I don't plan on being on here all the way until New Year's Eve Eastern time, but I do plan on being on here for at least a little bit to get some writing in tonight and just to have a little fun and talk to people if anybody jumps on and just kind of relax a little bit for the night and just kind of enjoy things a little bit. So we'll see how it goes, but definitely looking forward to just kind of coming on and chatting with the folks a little bit. So I've been continuing to write like everybody else, hopefully, and getting some projects worked on. I've been doing a combination of things. So I've been doing some outlining work as well as some work with actual writing projects, books, novels that I have in progress. So all of that's been a lot of fun, and I'm going to continue to do that stuff. I've talked to you guys before. I got the series that I'm working on, and I feel really good about the outline of this 5-book series. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be ready to jump off here a little bit. I actually started writing the first few paragraphs of it, not chapters, few paragraphs of it, and it's off to a good start. It's off to kind of a nice, creepy, descriptive start. So I think it'll be a nice hook to get people going pretty early with that. In the meantime, I did start a project that I'm actually pretty excited about. So I might put the series on hold just a little bit until I can finish out this project, because it's the first time I've ever written a horror novel, and I'm a big fan of horror movies. And so writing this one has been kind of a lot of fun so far. I'm a couple chapters in, I think 3 chapters in, and it's going pretty well. It's kind of fun. I was going to do fan fiction originally, but I decided to take the fan fiction concept and turn it into my own story. And I think that's going to be for the better. That's going to help it be even more fun for me, because I can go ahead and be creative, as opposed to fan fiction where you have certain parameters that you got to stay within to be able to make it work. So I'm thinking that that's going to be pretty fun. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of how many. Let me go pull up and tell you how many words I am into this so far. Not very many in the grand scheme of things here, but let's see. I am 5,010 words into this project. So let me. Oh, so a little over 5,000 words into the horror novel project. It's a lot of fun, actually. Like I said, I just grew up watching horror movies, some that my parents knew about and others that they probably did not know about. And maybe for their emotional and psychological well-being, it was probably for the better. So it was, but when you're a kid, you sneak and watch a lot of things. It's kind of been interesting to be able to do this, because, again, like I said, I've never done this before. So a summary of it is basically it's kind of like Friday the 13th. It's a horror movie, horror novel, I should say, that takes place at a summer camp that has this history that the kids are finding out about. And but where it's different than Friday the 13th is that I'm trying to think of how to say this without giving it away. It's different. It comes at it from a different angle. I mean, the original Friday the 13th movie is a very interesting concept, because the killer is not who I think in it was a surprise probably to a lot of people originally watching it, because they threw a lot of red herrings in the original movie. And now people associate Friday the 13th with Jason Voorhees and the hockey mask and the machete and all that stuff. And so, but the original killer was, of course, his mom. She was the killer. And so this one comes at it from, like that one, from a little bit of a different perspective. And so it's been fun to put that together and to try to make it unique, while at the same time kind of following sort of a template. That was a time when horror movies were really booming. Halloween had been really big in 1978, and then people were just kind of copying the Halloween concept and kind of turning it into their own thing. And then you had a bunch of horror movies that took place at summer camps. So like Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camp, Summer Camp Nightmare, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm not thinking about immediately right now. But those all were very profitable. Horror movies were cheap, and yet people still want to see them. So it was a great concept for movie studios to be able to produce in mass many horror movies during the late 70s and early 80s, and probably throughout the 80s, to be honest. So, but yeah, good question. So anyway, it's been fun. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day in terms of publishing, but it's definitely going to be very fun to continue writing. And hopefully, well, I don't know, I shouldn't say hopefully, but maybe it'll encourage me to think more about writing horror in the future. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Who cares? So, but at the same time, it's just fun. I enjoy writing. I should probably enjoy publishing more, and maybe explore some more avenues in terms of self-publishing, and to get more of my works out there, to get really more of my better works out there. Some of the works that I have out there now are not some of the best ones that I've ever done. And so I've always been holding my best ones back to try to get them published traditionally. So who knows? I'm not, as you can see from the white beard, I'm not getting any younger. So I may need to think about self-publishing a little bit more here in the future. Hello, Nicole. Welcome. Glad that you could make it here tonight and to join with me. As I mentioned earlier, for anybody who wasn't on earlier, I am going to continue to work on this horror piece that I've been doing. And I don't think it's going to be a very long story. It's probably going to be maybe in the NaNoWriMo goal range of like 50,000, maybe not even that long. We'll see. It'll be a relatively short story, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll definitely have some full-length novel. It'll reflect as a full-length novel, and I think technically it'll fall into that full-length novel word count here. As I mentioned earlier, and thanks for pointing that out. I'm already 5,000 words in, and I haven't even really. If you follow the 3-act format, I'm still only in Act 1, so there's still a long ways to go to get it going here, and yet I've got 5,000 words, so that puts me on a good pace, and leads me to believe that it's going to be at least that 5,000 words. Let's see. Publishing not as fun as editing. Yeah, editing is. Some people like editing and some people hate it. It's just a matter of perspective. I don't mind editing quite as much as probably some people do. But I tell you one thing: if people who enjoy editing and are good at it, you probably got a chance to make some good money. And for me, working in journalism for years and then working in public relations, it's helped me become much better as an editor over the years. You just kind of become better at it. Hopefully, you become better at it as you continue to see more and more writing, and you do more and more reading, and you start to see the errors. Some of the errors sometimes tend to jump off the page at you a little bit more. Editing is hard, not as fun as writing. Very, very true. No argument from this corner, as editing is especially if you. So when I go through editing, and it's probably another video that I could do altogether, but when I do editing of a novel, I usually take a step back from it for a couple weeks, maybe a little bit longer, and then when I come back to it, I usually do like a flow / content edit. So I'll go through it and just kind of more or less just skim it and make sure it's flowing, things are making sense, and I'll take some notes, and I'll make some, if I see anything that obviously pops off, then I'll obviously fix it. But I'll go through mainly just making sure that it flows, that there's no places where I'm just stopping because something doesn't make sense, or I didn't explain something very well, or I changed something later and the context, it doesn't. It's not synced up, so I'll go and fix that. And then the next time I go through, I'll go through and scrutinize it a little bit more and look a little bit more for more grammatical errors, structural errors. Then I'll do another edit where I'm looking at, did I make all the points that I needed to make? And then my final edit is basically a line edit. I just go through line by line and just make sure that every sentence makes sense. And I'll do that. And of course, I run it through, you know, the artificial intelligence software that's out there that you can use. And there's a number that you can use. You can use Pro Writing Aid is one that you can use. Grammarly has some uses, and I think there's still a free version of Grammarly that you can use. And Grammarly I find really helpful. So some people may not find it quite as helpful, but I do. So those are just that's kind of a quick rundown of the way I typically approach it when I come at editing. So, but it's a lot of fun. Editing is the first time through is it's amazing for me, at least the first time through editing. It's amazing how many any errors that I'll find, like oh my gosh, like what was I thinking? And you just catch like so much stuff that it just feels obvious, like how did I make that mistake? And you clean that up, and then as you go through it the third, fourth time, your mind, you're just getting mind numbing. So it becomes kind of tough, and so I can understand when people just kind of fall off a little bit and don't like editing, because it's usually that third or fourth time you've gone through it and you're just looking at it cross-eyed and you just can't deal with it anymore. So I can definitely understand when people don't find it quite as much fun. um, yeah. I could probably end up doing that at some point. That's a good point. I find like on YouTube here, at least with my channel, the booktube videos have done better than the authortube videos, which is maybe a little bit unfortunate, in the sense that I like both, um, but I'm probably more passionate about reading, or excuse me, about writing than I am about reading. So I wish the authortube videos did a little bit better, but the audience is what the audience is, and mostly what I do is just for fun. And if people happen to watch it and they enjoy it, then that's great. If they don't, then I understand. There's a lot of people out there that are producing outstanding content, and you might want to go in a different direction and watch somebody else, and that's perfectly fine. So no hard feelings there, if people want to go in a different direction in terms of what they're looking at. So all right, I'm really itching to get going on this. So I'm going to do a little bit of writing here. I'll put some time up on the clock here. So let me throw that in there. We'll go super full screen. So we got that. All right. We'll call this writing sprint number 1. So we'll get going with writing sprint number 1. Those of you who may be reading, you can certainly feel free to read. You can keep the conversation going in the chat. I'll definitely be paying attention to that. I'm not as focused on hard word counts. I'll probably still put it in the chat, but mostly I'm just kind of flowing and having some fun right now. So I'm at a kind of a early critical stage of the story, where I'm weaving in the backstory that's going to be significant to the camp counselors as they make their way to camp. So there's some interesting stuff that's going on there that and it's going to make it so I'm not as focused on the actual word count as much as I am just kind of making sure I'm saying what I need to say in the way that I need to say it. So, all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button and get going. Okay, so I ended up getting in 314 words during that writing sprint, which was pretty good. Let me reset the clock here real quick. So right now, our group is heading to the scene, and they're getting some backstory right now on the situation that occurred that provides the historical context. So I'm doing it in the form of a podcast, um, like a true crime podcast. So I'm thinking that was the way to go. So it should be a lot of fun to write it that way. We'll see how it goes, but I thought it was a different sort of way of doing it, and we'll see how it goes. But it seems like that's kind of at least a mildly clever way of trying to do some backstory here. So um, just a reminder, if you could just remember to subscribe to the channel for some good booktube and authortube content. That's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy doing. So, um, if you could, please feel comfortable doing that, and we can chat a little bit. You can leave comments and and make suggestions. And for eventually, at some point next year, I probably want to, start inviting people to participate in the live writing sprints. So I'll probably be handing out some links to people if they want to join, and we can writing sprint together. I'm definitely cool with that. So if people are interested in that in the future, whether you're watching it here live tonight or you're going to watch it once it's archived, so to speak, on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that. And those who are interested, I'll be reaching out to some people, hopefully in the future in 2021, to work on more collaborative opportunities with fellow booktubers and author tubers. So that's definitely going to be a point of emphasis. I don't necessarily do New Year's resolutions, so to speak, at least not officially the way a lot of people do. But I do. I think the end of the year and beginning of the next year is a kind of a natural time to reflect and consider where you've been the last year, and then where you want to go in the coming year. So it's just a natural point for a lot of people. So it's only natural, I guess, that we would all be thinking along those lines. So I want to also share some ways that you guys can find me on different social media platforms. So um, this is where you guys can find me on Twitter if you want to do so. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, I tweet a lot of different types of stuff. Of course, a lot of booktube and authortube stuff, but also a lot of personal opinions on a variety of different topics. So feel free to get at me there, and follow me, make some comments, agree with me, disagree with me. It's all good. Let's see, Nazy. I don't do resolutions, but like to reflect and set goals. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just, as I said earlier, it's just a natural time to do that. As we close out one year and look ahead to the next year, you can start to look at things and see, where can I make progress? And I looked at that with what I'm doing here on YouTube, and I don't have the list with me, but I made a list of things that I want to improve with the channel in 2021 to continue to make it fun, so I don't get burned out of it. And these are things that hopefully will continue to make the content better, and continue to deliver a better product that people will hopefully continue to enjoy. And we'll see where it goes, and hopefully more people will jump on board and want to have fun and chat about some things, and if so, we can definitely do that. Again, there's me on Twitter if you guys are interested. Also, let me throw this at you guys. If those of you who are on Goodreads, I know some of you are swearing off Goodreads in the future, and I might do that at some point. Who knows? We shall see. But if you're interested, that's where to find me on Goodreads, and that you can keep track of some of the things that I'm reading, some of the things that I'm interested in reading, and all that jazz. So you can definitely find me there on Goodreads. But Twitter is where I'm probably more active in terms of posting content. So definitely take some time to look me up there. Hope everybody's having a good New Year's Eve, and hopefully everybody's had a good holiday season. Whatever you guys celebrate, hopefully you guys have been able to find some good times in what has been challenging times for all of us. And going all the way back to mid-March when the pandemic really started to bust out here. Let's see. As difficult as the pandemic has been, I managed to be more focused and productive. I think that's a great point, because I think when I look at where I was going into the pandemic, and obviously a lot of people were justifiably concerned about where things were going to go, and what it was going to be like, quarantining and trying to stay safe. There's just a lot of just unease and uncertainty. And so I think for some people, myself included, and you, I think it was an opportunity to really refocus on some things and to find ways to manage. I know me working from home a lot more was a challenge to stay focused and to not fall into bad habits by going outside of a routine. And I found a way to remain productive, in fact, even increase productivity and increase, a greater work-life balance. And so I don't know how many other people experience that, but I know I certainly did. So that was one of the positives to come out of a difficult situation with this pandemic is, a little bit more time to strike a good work-life balance and to renew and even improve, as you mentioned, focus and productivity. So let's see. Happy New Year. Thank you, The Shadows Lair. Appreciate that. Happy New Year to you as well, and to everybody else that might stop through here. I just decided to pop up on here for a little bit since I was going to be doing some writing anyway. And, I thought, hey, I'll just jump on here. And if anybody else jumps on, anybody's up and wants to chat a little bit, then I'm certainly up for doing that. And always interested in hearing what projects people are working on, and whether that be projects that you're writing, whether it's your memoir, poetry, fiction, nonfiction, so many things that people are working on from a writing standpoint, or maybe things that you guys are reading. It could be fiction, it could be nonfiction, any of a large range of course, fiction options that interest people. I know I'm already worked on some of my reading goals for 2021. I don't have the Goodreads challenge goal that I usually set, at least for the last few years. This past year, it was 50 books that I wanted to read for the calendar year, and I ended up reading 70. So I more than passed that goal. Not necessarily sure I'm going to increase that goal going into 2021. It'll probably be about the same, but we shall see. But 70 books, I'm pretty happy with that. I feel like that's really good. It's a good mix of not only fiction, a range of fiction, not as wide as I want, but it will be in 2021, as well as a lot of nonfiction. I wanted to definitely pick up my nonfiction reading. So those are some things that went well in 2021. All right, let me go ahead and get the clock back on here. I'm going to go for another 15 minutes of writer sprinting. And if you're writing, then you can write along. And if you are reading, you can read along. And if you also want to continue to chat in the comments, go ahead and do that. I will continue to respond to you guys as I see your comments pop up. All right, so this is writing sprint number 2. So writing sprint number 2 is up on the board. I'll go ahead and hit start and we can get going. Okay, so what I am doing right now in my story is I am basically doing the transcription of a podcast. That's a mechanism I'm using to tell the backstory here. And so I've seen that technique used before, and it seems to be a pretty effective way of kind of skirting around, if you will, or dancing around the process of info dumping, which is something that you're really supposed to avoid, or at least avoid doing it in an obvious way. So I'm trying to find a way to sneakily work around that. So we'll see if I can get away with it and do it effectively. So far, it's been kind of fun to do that, and hopefully, it'll continue to be fun. So I don't know if you guys are working on anything. I hope you guys are, and appreciate you guys joining me here tonight. And I don't really have a formal plan. Just gonna kind of have some fun and do some writing, and hopefully everybody else is doing likewise. As let me get the clock set up just for the next sprint. Hang on a second. Okay, so yeah, just having some fun writing, and I'm at a nice place right now where I'm in a good groove in terms of writing, and it's just a matter of really just having fun with it and getting it to flow. So with that, I'm gonna just continue to let it flow. So let's see. Nazy had a tough sprint there, a couple of interruptions. I actually had an interruption early in my sprint. I was trying to figure out how to frame the podcast within the book, and I was thinking I needed to go check a book that used this technique. But when I went to go get the book out of the stacks of book that I have set up in the room where I shoot my recorded videos, I noticed that the book was like about three-quarters of the way down with like 20 books stacked on top of it. And I'm like, I don't know how much I wanted to remove all those books and then put them all back together. I've got them kind of stacked up by colors. So you'll see that when I start filming videos again in 2021. But it was about three-quarters of the way down, and I didn't think it was really worth the effort to try to pull it out. So I ended up leaving it, and I was able to find what I was looking for online. So that was helpful without potentially creating a mess. So, all right. Well, hopefully you will have a better sprint this time. I'm going to let me see. Let me go ahead and get this going again, and we're gonna get going with sprint number 3 here. We're coming up on the 1 hour mark that I've been with you guys, and it's the bottom of the hour, so I'll probably go to at least 10 o'clock, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, so there's the clock, and there's our message for writing sprint number 3, and let's go ahead and get going. Okay, so that was 476 words during that sprint for me. So I'm pretty happy about that. That was ends up being really productive. As I said, I'm working through a podcast, so that part has been actually pretty fun. So that was a good sprint for me, and probably a good way to begin to close it out here tonight. So I want to thank everybody who came through and participated during the sprint. It was a lot of fun. And I look forward to maybe another sprint coming up, possibly on Saturday. We shall see. I'm going to enjoy some good time tomorrow, hopefully watching some really good football. So I'll be definitely locked up into that as well. So that's great to hear. I'm glad you had a better sprint. Hopefully, a little bit more free of interruption. So that is definitely good to hear. Definitely glad to hear about that. And Nazy, it's always great to have you joining in on the broadcast. So it's just a lot of fun. But I'm going to get ready to close it out here. And Nazy is already hearing fireworks here in Pennsylvania. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's coming. So, it's coming up on the 10 o'clock hour. So I'm pretty sure, here in Michigan, we'll start to hear some of that here pretty soon as well. Actually, I'm in a room in the center of my house. So it's pretty well insulated. So I probably won't hear much going on as of yet, but I'm sure it's coming. So I can definitely expect that we'll be hearing some of that here and all across the country, staggered as it hits the midnight hour and then extends beyond the midnight hour. And for those who like to get going early or maybe have a few extra fireworks that they want to pop off, they'll probably get going really early. And apparently it is in your area. They're getting a little bit of an early start. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close it out for tonight. And thank you all for joining me. Put that message in there. Appreciate all of you for joining me, and hopefully I will be able to come back here for another one on Saturday, which is our usual time in the morning. So if you are available and you want to jump on, that would be great. Feel free to join me. But I'm going to go ahead and close it out for tonight. Everybody have a good night. Have a very safe New Year's Eve. And I hope everybody has a great New Year's Day tomorrow.